Good morning, poker friends. Welcome back. This is Run It Up 2. If you were with us last time, you saw the first in what was supposed to be a three-part series. Oh my goodness, look at this. We are starting off. This is our very first hand today. Kings is a good way to start. Let's go ahead and raise it up to about $1. Maybe even exactly $1. No love for the Kings. So if you were with us last time, you saw the first of what was supposed to be a three-part session there. It turns out the second and third parts of the session were just pretty dull. Not too much going on, and nothing really changed in the bankroll. So we have abandoned those videos, and we've just moved on. Starting bankroll today, $319.79, so almost exactly where we left off last time. Things have been a little bit rough. Things have been going not stellarly, but we're here to turn that all around. Nothing for it but to do it. And toward that end, we've got a couple of tables of 25 no limit. So some fantastic micro limit poker ahead of us for the next few minutes. Let's take a look at what we've got out here. There's a short stacker up here on the left table. Nobody too short on the right-hand side. Where we have a pair already. And number 3 after his min raise is going to do what? He's going to make a sandwich. No, he's just going to pass. That works. We'll take his quarter. 9, 10, that looks tasty as well. So, business as usual pretty much today. We're kind of looking out for people's mistakes, looking out for little things that can tell us what's going on. The low-level tells where people reveal the strength of their hand inadvertently. Those have been a little bit helpful recently, so we're going to continue to try to focus on those. We're going to try to not play too many unsuited connectors like 8-9. We may call out of the blind on this one. I mean, it's a button raise, right? Don't make much progress with it. If he c-bets as he does, I think we'll just let it go. I mean, we could, kind of get into it right off the bat, but let's take a minute and see what's what, as much as we like to test people. Now here we've got to test him, because we did make a bet pre-flop. Stands to reason a c-bet might work a fair amount of time on a board like that. And we're going to get to see a flop for no extra investment with our King 3 suited. But we're pretty far away from that. So we've got a lot of rebuilding to do. From the bankroll high of 720-ish, 730, 740, somewhere around there we were up to just before all these videos began. We'd love to get back to that. If we could get back to that level, to that bankroll level, we would be pretty stoked. We would feel that we had managed to ride out some nasty luck and some suckouts that cost us stacks along the way. Ace is an interesting card in this river. It may be the kind of card that will help us, well, depending on how they react to it. You know, for example, did one give up just because it was finally an ace on the river? Did he, was he just floating along there with nothing? Ace 9. Flat calling with ace-9 doesn't seem like a great plan there. He could have raised in position and tried to go to work, but I think it's okay to pass on that sometimes. King 3 gets no real love. He's a little bit shorter. We may just put the brakes on here. He could easily have been calling with second pair or an ace. He could also, of course, have been calling with diamonds. He doesn't bet the turn. But despite making a pair on the river, it's not really a great card. Okay, so maybe more like a 5, or I'm going to say more likely maybe a pocket pair, something like that. I mean, he wasn't obviously sort of floating with the intention of taking it away from us because he made no moves. Oops, I forgot this is where our short stacker was, so we could have made this opening bet a little bit smaller, just to not get too tripped up with the way the stacks end up compared to the pot. This time we can go ahead, though, because we've got a better in front of us, a caller in front of us. No limping, fellas. When are you going to figure that out? Come on. Don't make it pay. Well, a gutter ball is better than nothing. We're going to just see if they're willing to fold to a board like that. And they are. Couple of letter cards. Always nice. You can't spell Broadway without K and Q. There's $1. Now we have talked about the weakness of donk betting. Of course, it's not always weak. Sometimes it's just somebody saying, "Hey, man, I'm going to take it down right now with my pair of 9s, pair of 8s." He's got $20 behind. Folding is absolutely reasonable here, I believe. Calling is, I don't know, I suppose you could have a discussion about whether it's worth it with just a couple of overs. Now, in this instance, it worked out. So, earlier he did fold when an ace came out. We don't know what he had. But if he's the kind of guy who worries about big cards and kind of assumes that if somebody bets one, they're going to have it, he may not call. So we want to keep that bet a little bit smaller, I think. So 10-Jack was possible. Considering he didn't bet the river, I'm going to say 10-Jack is unlikely. Now, 9-10, 8-9, also possible. 9-10 just improved. Again, I think those hands he's more likely to bet out with. I'm going to say most of the time he's still just on a single pair. If we make it small enough, we may squeeze $1.75 out of him. And he thinks better of it. So that supports our theory that maybe he just had a single pair type hand there and was unwilling to continue, as it looked like the board got worse for that hand. Which may be a little nitty. I mean, some people are going to be a lot stickier than that. He just perhaps is not one of them. 7-4 is no good. That's a bunch of hooey. Pocket 10's looking good. So we were hoping to get calls from maybe baby pairs, maybe big cards, ace-high type hands. Hopefully not king-queen type hands. And of course, air was a possibility. So we've taken down a couple of pots just by blasting away over here. You never know exactly how early people are going to start disbelieving you and wanting to do something about it. It's also often surprising how long they'll put up with it. Now this is a small enough bet that it does look like one of those little blocking donk bets. It could be trying to induce us to raise. But I'm going to say most often it's a little bit of a blocking bet with a 5 or a 6. Seems willing to keep going. 3, 4, I suppose, is possible. If he's got that just a single pair type hand, non-top pair, there's some chance he'll fold. I think we're going to go ahead and try it. Based on that read that he's weak. Now, he may just call anyway and refuse to believe us, but it looks like that may be right about where he was at. And once again, he helped us out, I think, with that little blocking bet that we know is so typical of weak hands. So we have to think that favored us, that we somewhat correctly responded to the conditions that presented themselves. Now there's the bigger bet, especially from a small stack. I'm going to say this guy's got combo draw type hand at least. Well, I mean, I think anything is possible here. He could have, I think, any single pair hand, overs and spades and straight draw, pair and a draw. All those things are out there, and we don't shape up very well against them. And he hasn't got any money to win anyway. Not worth half his stack to look at one card. Queen 9, not quite going to do it. Look at that. Free flop with 6 deuce. There's a whole bunch of clubs out there. This guy is really pretty short, however. I mean, let's try to figure out exactly what. I mean, this should be one of those instances where math could give us an answer. I mean, do we have the implied odds really to chase? Not out and out chase with the flush draw. There's some chance that a 6 and a deuce are both live as outs. So flush is no longer such an appealing hand. I think we can probably just let it go. Distinctly possible that just considering there were no implied odds there, he just didn't have the money. I don't know, without a raise pre-flop, if a 6 or a deuce comes, maybe we are ahead. But, maybe he's limping with a pocket pair that beats a pair of deuces, maybe even beats a pair of 6s. So, probably not a thing we want to do every time, let's say. Okay, so 75 cents on the button after a couple of limpers. Ace-king looks fine to raise it up. Let's go ahead and raise a little bit bigger. We've got, if we just take it down now, I guess that's alright. That's $1.50. And 3 was just kidding around anyway. So far, so good. Nothing too outrageous. Old 5-6. These are exactly the kinds of hands we're trying to maybe stay away from. Not get in the habit of playing too often. On the other hand, of course, this is it's just about 11 o'clock on a weekday. Today is the 11th. It's Monday. It's Monday. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. But as it's 11 a.m. on a Monday, in the past we have frequently seen pretty passive tables at an hour like this. So if things get real passive, that 5-6 kind of hand maybe something to work with, just as a function of a lot of confidence to be able to pick up pots without a hand and kind of never sing showdown. So it would be lovely to see what kind of hand number 4 is doing this with, whether it's some kind of combo hand. We did talk last time about, nope, in this case it was strong. So he was doing that hoping to get a call from something like a flush draw, and he got exactly what he wanted and lost anyway. That's bad for him, but good for us. Maybe number 3 there just can't resist his chasing tendencies. At least our 7 deuce is suited. If you're going to pick it up, it might as well be suited, right? King Jack is not suited. Nonetheless, looks a lot more appealing than 7 deuce. What kind of flop can you bring us over here? 10, 7 deuce. Oh, now this is a bet we could have called with our overcards. The re-raise to 250 makes it seem like not a great idea. So here we go. This has still been a pretty passive table. It looks like, well, we're not going to call with it, but we would have raised that on the button just to put some pressure on the blinds. This right-hand table does seem just a little more uppity than the left-hand table. It's whereas on the button we may have raised just about any two cards. I think on the right-hand side, we'll wait for something a little nicer looking. Number 5's turn to make a sandwich over here. Go for a jog. So now one thing that, having another player in the pot with a hand like this, I think actually helps us a little bit. I mean, we know that we're not relying on our cards if we're going to get into a hand here. We're hoping to, most of the time probably, use position to take down a small pot. And I think that raising it up after a limper maybe just lends a little more credence. At least, again, as is our common refrain, at least at these levels. It's not really deep logic to realize that somebody may simply be more inclined to raise with junk after they've seen weakness ahead of them. But here at 25 no limit, I think we can just be straightforward about it and say, hey, I don't care that these guys are limping in front of me. I'm going to raise it up because I got a hand, and I think more people are willing to believe that kind of malarkey. Well, that is a deep, dark flop with lots of spades on it, and if he's got a reasonable hand himself, some potential for him to make a decent hand. He could make himself Broadway. He could have himself a hand already if he started with some decent cards. So this is a spot where I think what we do now depends on what we plan to do on the river. I don't think we can often flat call there, bet out on the river, and make lots of money. Most people tend to realize that you're pretty strong there, and if they haven't got much of a hand, they let it go. If you're willing to check the river and have some confidence that he's going to bet, then I think you can flat call. Otherwise, I think you're better off raising the turn. But I think a reasonable amount of the time, he may believe he's good and go ahead and bet out. He didn't do it, however. He may have been a little scared by the river. But he could have also sort of made a stronger hand on the river, so... Certainly two pair of hands, and of course Broadway. We think he probably would have bet Broadway, at least something. Take it, my friend, take it. So I'm just not sure there was any way. It's possible that raising the turn there, maybe he would have called a raise, but we really don't know just yet. But it is always an interesting choice out of position when you make a hand that strong and your opponent is betting. I think that turn decision is as important as any in the hand. In terms of affecting your long-term profitability. The differences between raising that turn and flat calling are, I think, a little deep. Okay, 125 into 375. Both of them are awfully short stacked. We were hoping to get into a big multi-way pot there and flop decently, but The raise and the call from the short stacks kind of foiled that plan. We have top pair here. Check raise right there out of the blind. So let's see. Our queen isn't great looking, what with its being accompanied by a mere 10. Not too many semi-bluffs out there, so we're either way ahead or way behind, I suppose. And without knowing really much about the guy, it's hard to see how many hands we were beating. Sometimes people down here do make a habit of, having betting like that with, let's say, pocket jacks and just sort of hoping you missed the queen. And if that's the case, you could very well have bet again or called a re-raise, put a lot of money in. But we're just not sure yet about how much that guy's capable of, so if we're taking a straightforward approach, I think that fold is probably okay. I do think we're probably behind fairly often. I have certainly fallen for the logical trap of saying, well, 3-6, is he really going to call 3-6? Some do, sure, a little suited 3-6 there. Could have done it, queen 6, queen 3, less likely maybe, but people will do it. And of course, sets there may be happy to believe we've got a queen and of course have us squashed. Out of position, here we go with the king jack. Not too much love out there for our hand. Maybe a limited amount of work we can do on a flop like that. Don't necessarily give that guy credit for a huge hand, but you could very likely be betting with a pocket pair there, something like that. Could be pocket pairs we beat, but it could also be big overcards that we're not necessarily ahead of. So yet again, I think folding is not outrageous there. King 10 for only 23 cents. It's going to be alright. There's that old donk bet we're familiar with. Now, at this point, we have a little bit of an issue in that, we've only got one guy behind us, so that helps a bit. We'd certainly expect to see a queen or diamonds, maybe a deuce, but it seems a little less likely. So it worked out. 3 says, damn it. So at the very least, he would have folded. Pocket 9s, he said. Well, that's good to know. That is, if that's true. Would he hit the suck out straight? If that's true, we read his donk bet properly. He was indeed in possession of something less than top pair. Write it down. Take it home. Try it in your own games. The donk bet is weak. And of course, we generally make a habit of, well, often as not, raising those donk bets. And expecting them to fold. And I think that's fine. I mean, maybe we can think about whether there's another way to make more money, but I don't think there is. If they're sort of trying to block like that, it's because they're already concerned. And they're not likely to bet again once they get called. The only way they would potentially bet again is if they improve, or at the very least pick up a lot of equity. So we wouldn't want to go slowly in a spot like that and let them sneak up and get us. At the very least, not without making them pay. So it looks like we're up about $9. I think we'll play out the last couple of hands here and call it a session. The right-hand table, 32-49. Not quite sure about the left table yet. Jack 9 pass. 27.83 on the left-hand table. So 10.32 brings the banker up to 3.30.11. Every little bit helps. We're going to call it a winning session. We're going to call it a step in the right direction. We're going to call it progress. Thanks for stopping by. If you have questions or comments about the videos, about the poker, about life, stick them in that section below or email them to runitup2@gmail.com. That's T-O-O. runitup2@gmail.com. Thanks again for stopping by. See you next time.